Hey, what's good? It's your boy MC. Currently working on what we're going to call season 2 of the Vocal Minority Report. New interviews, bigger names, also the names you haven't heard of. We're still going to give you those people who shape our culture and influence our world out there. Still going to talk to those people. We're going to sprinkle in some larger names, perhaps some throwbacks. We're just going to make it do what it does. You know what I mean? Appreciate everybody listening, sticking with us. The news, it's kind of in flux right now. Don't know if we're going to do the daily, if we're going to switch to a weekly. We're working on a little sponsorship kind of partnership deal with that. So not sure what's happening with the news for those of you guys who are clamoring, waiting for the unique delivery that the Vocal Minority Report gives you with the Negro News Minute. As always, make sure you go to thevocalminorityReport.com. Check out, I make new updates there almost every day. So check out everything that we've done. There's new pages, working on a blog. There's a press kit for those who be interested in advertising and working with the show. There are the new listen page. There's all kinds of new stuff there. So check that out. Go to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, leave a review. Really appreciate it. We've got a new survey partner. We got PodTrack. So what they do, you've probably heard this on other podcasts, but they find out a little bit more about you and what you like about our show, specifically the Vocal Minority Report. So we've got a survey on the website. This asks general information about you, but then we have this other link to this PodTrack survey. So please go there. You'll see the link there under survey, and then I'll post the link in the show notes as well. You'll be hearing me do this for the next couple of months so we can gain a little more information, so we can be more attractive to both you as listeners and to potential folks who can support the show and keep us going, right? So with that, this is a throwback episode. This is actually episode 7. Technically, there are 70 episodes of the Vocal Minority Report out. That's a combination of guest interviews, which I think we're at like 40, or I'm at 40, 45, something like that. Then there's the true crime specific episodes that we did on the unfortunate murder of April Jace. There's 3 or 4 rebroadcasts of some popular episodes or episodes that were timely, which is what we're going to do today. We're going to rebroadcast episode 17 beautiful ones featuring Chris Arnold. If you're from Dallas, if you're into sports, then you've probably heard that name. And here I call him a Dallas radio legend. And I get into some of that in this episode, some of the setup there. But it's a great conversation because he knew Prince for quite some time, and he gets into the depth of their relationship. So I thought I would play this in honor and remembrance of him, because the Purple One really touched me. I remember going to see him in concert in the year, I think it was 2000 or 2001 at the Dallas Convention Center, and it was dope. He had shoulder length hair. He turned it out. Najee was there. It was a great night. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Here's the show.
Thank you.
Previously on the Vocal Minority.
Are you part of the silent majority? Or are you part of the vocal minority?
Motherfuckers, go.
Attention, please.
If America can be saved, and I don't know if it's too late, but it'll be through a radio show like this new kind.
This shit here feels like the whole entire world collapsed.
The revolution will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised, will not be televised. The revolution will be no rerun, brothers.
It's the vocal minority.
The revolution will be live.
Welcome to another episode of the Vocal Minority Show. It's your boy MC. We have another very special guest on the show this week. Very happy to bring you a Dallas radio legend. He's been at the forefront of sports and entertainment coverage in a career that spans more than 30 years. He was a staple every morning, first with Tom Joyner, then part of the legendary Skip Murphy and Company. He's the man who declared movie watching a sport. He was married to a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, had Janet Jackson give him her digits. He's the NBA's first ever in-game MC, future Hall of Famer for sure. He's currently the host of G-Bag Nation on CBS Radio's Dallas 105.3 The Fan, heard weekdays 10 to 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Arnold. How you doing, Chris?
Yes, thanks for having me, man. Appreciate the introduction.
Hey, no problem, man. I could have kept going, but I know we have limited time here because you've done so much, so.
I'm flattered. I feel like this. I'm just lucky to be around this long. I feel like it's cool on.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, no, that's, yeah, speaking of that, being around this long, I mean, you've got such a career that is, like I said, spanned decades, and you've met so many people. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about because, since the passing of Prince, about 9 or 10 days ago, there's been a lot of stories, a lot of people talking about what he meant to them. And I feel like my audience probably they don't need to hear me go on and on about how much I love Purple Rain and all of that. So I want to do something different and talk to someone who actually had some real life experience and I guess a relationship of some sorts with Prince, and who better to speak on that than you? So I wanted to see if we can maybe start from the beginning. And when did you get into Prince? I know you met him maybe early in his career, but when did you first get into Prince and let's start listening to his music? What was your first entree into him?
All right, when I was in college, I was also a DJ at University of Oklahoma. I was a disc jockey in Oklahoma City. So the record companies would send me albums, and they would send me the albums before they actually came out onto the record stores and stuff, and I just looked through the different albums and different artists to see who I liked. They sent me Prince's first album, For You, and I looked at the cover, and then I looked on the back, and I saw that he played all the instruments and he did all the vocals and he produced, arranged, and composed it. And I was like, what? This dude looks kind of young. And he was on the cover with a little afro and all that. So I put it on. And if you've ever heard that album, the very first song is just voices. It's just him singing a cappella, but it sounds like a symphony.
Okay.
And then the music was just off the chain. And the big hit song off of that album was Soft and Wet. So that's when I first got into Prince, was probably like 1978, before the album even hit. And I got in touch with the record company. I wanted to interview him, and they said he doesn't do interviews. And I went, oh, okay. So at that point, I was already in, but I was like, okay, this guy's different.
Right.
And that was in Oklahoma. 2 years later, 1990, I'm in Dallas, and I'm still following his career, and he finally did a concert in 1981. And that's the first time I met him. Now, what I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to qualify everything we're saying. My relationship with Prince is this. I'm cool with him. He's cool with me. I admire him. He respects me. And it's kind of like that movie, The Fight Club.
Okay.
They say, well, go on the Fight Club, stay in the Fight Club.
Yes, sir.
You don't talk about the Fight Club.
Right, okay.
So anybody that's got any kind of friendship or anything with Prince, you don't ever want to say too much because then next thing you know, you're not around him anymore.
Yeah, you don't want to mess that up, right?
You don't want to upset. Wow, you're like, I can't believe like I said, I've always felt like I'm grateful that he allowed me to be in his world. So, I've always he's so quiet, so private, so, even the word mysterious fits. I've always just kind of said just a little here and there.
So now with his passing, and obviously, you don't want to, I understand you respect him and the homeboy code. And like I said, you want to be a part of what's going on. So in his passing now, so I know you said you got some stories to tell and some myths to correct. I'm curious how deep we can get into some of those stories you have to tell and some myths we can correct.
I can give you a couple little things. Number one, like I said, I don't want to tell too much because it's a book. I could literally write a book.
Okay, yeah,
I will tell you this. I was honored and flattered enough to spend 3 New Year's Eves in a row with him, after parties like that. Been to Paisley Park. The first time I went was in the daytime, and he actually invited me to Paisley Park. The second time I went, now this is going to be an interesting story because I'm going to tell you basically how Prince became a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not responsible for it. I'm a qualified first off, but I'm going to tell you how it went down.
Okay.
Number one,
Exclusive.
The second time I went to Paisley Park, this was in the first time I went to Paisley Park, it was in the late 1980s. He invited me up there, and I was flattered I had a chance to go. Here's another thing a lot of people don't know. Prince actually has 3 houses. He wasn't living in Paisley Park at first. He had a house. It was purple. Actually, it was lavender. It was very tasteful. It wasn't like ugly purple or loud purple. It was like, damn, this house fits in this neighborhood.
Right.
And he gave it to his father at a basketball court out front. That's when I found out that Prince could actually play basketball. And by the way, that stuff on the Chappelle show is true.
Okay, so that's true. Okay.
Yeah, Charlie Murphy, yeah, that's true. In fact, we did an interview with Prince just before he got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, or actually right after he got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Skip Murphy and Company, and I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, everything's true except they were wearing like real warm-ups, not blouses, not his stage clothes.
Okay.
And he said he did serve pancakes the next morning.
Oh, wow, okay. Okay, so they beat him and they got pancakes.
Met him in New York, and they became pretty good friends.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that story is true. Okay.
Yeah, that story is true. But let me go back to him becoming a Jehovah's Witness. Like I said, the first time I went up there, it was in the daytime, and he had 2 other houses. He lived in a big house around the corner from Paisley Park, and Paisley Park was just his studio, and it has a huge sound stage and very private. But he invited me over there. The second time I went, the NBA All-Star Weekend was in Minneapolis. I want to say it was like 1994. And I knew Prince was going to have an after party or a party because he always does. And I said, it's in his hometown too? I know it's going to happen. Before I could even try to reach him, Tom Jordan said he got a pass. And Chris, you got to go with me because you and Prince and the whole, I said, you know I'm in.
Right.
Let's do it. So I went with Tom Joyner to Prince's party. And you had to have the invitation to get in. That was it. In fact, when we were going in the door, Carlton from the Fresh Prince, he was coming in with some people, and he didn't have a pass, and they would not let him in.
Oh, wow.
They would not let him in. And it wasn't Prince, it was the security. You know, Prince ain't at the door picking people.
Right. Yeah, he's back. He running it. Right. Okay.
And, right. Now, I've been to 3 New Year's Eve parties with Prince, so I know Prince is a personable person when he wants to be.
So let me.
New Year's Eve party. Go ahead.
So how did you get on in that level with Prince, where you were invited? I mean, I know you went to the party with Tom Joyner in this case, but to be in all these events and be cool on that level and part of that circle when you were, how did you get on that level with him and your interaction? How did you break through there?
It was just pure, just meeting him over time, overall, and see me again, and see me again, and see me again.
Okay.
The first time I ever met him was actually in the elevator at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Dallas. After one of his shows, I was going to go to his after party, and I didn't know he was going to be at that hotel. But this is like late after the concert, and I'm going up the elevator, and he gets in with his big old bodyguard. And I was awkward because, like, he's little, tiny, and there's probably about 3 or 4 people in there, and I shook hands with him and a little glove and all that. Next thing you know, later on, we wound up at the same after party. I knew it was his after party,
right?
But and then I wound up. See, what it is you like. I know the record label people. I know the concert promoters. I never buy concert tickets to Prince. I work at a radio station, right?
Right.
So I would have a hookup somewhere or the other, and then I would find out where the after party was or whatever. And then I would meet Prince, and he'd see me again, and we'd have a conversation, or he was real. Like one of the parties, I'll just give you a little, pull back the curtain a little bit. One of his early parties, with a New Year's Eve party, and I'm at the same table with Prince. And party's going on, and everybody's dancing, and the Prince decides he wants to dance. Well, he gets out on the dance floor with one of his background singers or somebody, and they start doing this weird dance. I am not lying. Whole dance floor start doing the exact same thing. The same weird little dance. It was like, it was choreography. I was like, damn, that's strong. And I remember also one of those first parties, one of the people sitting at the table asked him, I always remember this because I thought it was so crazy. Somebody asked him how much did he weigh.
Oh, wow.
It was a New Year's Eve party. It was a New Year's Eve party. He had one of the party favors in his mouth. And he just looked at that dude crazy and went, and hit that party favor,
Right.
Kind of rolled his eyes. Also, that same party, he's doing his little dance on the dance floor. How come somebody tried to take a picture? Mind you, at this party, it's after party. You have Morris Day and the Time. You got Sheila E. You got Vanity Six back then. It wasn't even Apollonia Six. It was Vanity Six.
Okay.
Everybody's at this party, and somebody, I want to say it was in their groups, one of those groups, tried to take a picture.
Wow.
And Prince just snapped his fingers. Big Chick took the whole, the guy's camera and just took out all the film, just pulled it on out. That was the end of that. And I'm like, oh, okay. I am never going to take a picture with him. I know that ain't going to happen.
Right, yeah.
I took pictures of him on his stage, in the sound stage, in the studio, and he let me take some pictures inside Paisley Park.
Okay.
And I never was able to take a picture with him or of him, because he didn't allow that. He just didn't want his picture taken. Remember this about Prince. He controls everything. He does not do what he doesn't want to do.
Right.
He doesn't trust record companies. He doesn't trust a lot of people. So that's why I say, to be that close to him, I feel honored. And I've always been careful about how much I say and what I don't say, because I don't ever want to break a relationship. Even though he's passed away, I still feel the same way from years and years and years. You know what I mean?
Of course.
You just don't say too much. But
I mean,
I got some
that shows
wonderful memories.
Yeah, and like you said, that shows that level of respect you have for him. You weren't just a hanger on. I mean, like you said, you're a professional, number one, in the radio industry, and you were cool and able to maintain that.
Yeah, and again, I would see him over and over again. We're like in the same world. I mean, we'd be run into the same people, or he'd be like, for example, I'd see him after either backstage at his concert or at his after party, or he would have, when I say after party, he would have parties where he performed, like he'd take over a club, right? So I'd see him there, and not just in Dallas. It'd be wherever I happen to be, if he happened to be in town. So he would see me and we'd talk, because he'd know who I was. Hey, Chris.
Right, okay.
What you doing here? Whatever.
Okay.
And then there were times like he would be at I'd be in Minnesota for whatever the reason, whether it was the Super Bowl, because they had a Super Bowl up there.
Right.
Whether it was the World Series, the Final Four, Maverick games, Cowboy games, he'd be at those games. And
that's because he's a big sports fan, right?
Everybody else is giving him space, and they're afraid to approach him. I look over there and I go, Prince. And he goes, grin on his face. Hey man, what you doing, man? Hey Chris, what's going on, man? How things in Dallas? And we just talk. So,
I'm guessing you guys are about the same age. So you think that had a lot? I mean,
the exact same age.
Okay, so you are also a contemporary as such. You weren't just some guy. You guys had the age thing in common too. Okay.
Exactly. He's actually 3 or 4 months older than me. He was born on June the 7th. I was born on September 19th. Both of us in 1958. And so again, I would see him in different environments, different situations, and this is going on for 35 years. So
right.
It's like, I don't know how to explain it, but again, I was going to tell you how he became a Jehovah's Witness, because this is really ironic. And again, I know a lot of the same people that he knows and trusts.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Of course. Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. The extended clique.
And again, they would see that I'm cool with him and he's cool with me, and then they were cool with me. Or vice versa around, and then I thought that's the best way I can explain it. That's the best way I can explain it. It was a comfort level there.
No, I understand.
So, here's this Jehovah's Witness story, which is really interesting. Okay, so he has this NBA All-Star Weekend party, and he's mixing and mingling with everybody in all the different rooms, and this is when he changed his name to a symbol. And so I went up to him and I said, hey, I don't want to be rude, because I know you done changed your name, so what do I call you now? I said, how do you pronounce it? And he just looked at me and said, you don't. And then he just kind of started laughing. And then I asked one of his guys in his band, I said, man, what y'all call Prince? Man, we call him Prince. That man, that's just show business, man. He Prince. So I went back up to him and I said, all right, Prince. And he just started laughing. And so anyway, at this party, later on in the party, you saw in his sound stage, because he just let everybody roam from room to room, and there was, flowers everywhere, and petals on the ground, and each room had different ambience, and chill out room over here, and more lively room over there, candy machines, all kinds of stuff, anything you want, except for it was vegetarian stuff, because you don't eat meat. There's vegetarian this,
Okay.
Just all kinds of snacks, desserts, and with no alcohol. It was just,
So
water.
was he not a drinker beforehand, or was he always not a drinker and a partier beforehand, or was this later?
He never was. He didn't smoke or drink.
Okay.
He did not do that.
Okay.
That was not him.
Okay.
That was before he was a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
Well, you could see he had his equipment and the light set up on the stage. And it's like, wait a minute, he might perform later on. Everybody knew. Do not leave this part. He might perform. And by the way, there were some of the NBA players was there. I remember David Robinson was there because I was wound up standing next to him all the Prince's show. So he did two shows. He did like one performance and then like over hours. Tevin Campbell?
Of course. Break it down. Yeah.
Yeah. Tevin was there. And
Okay.
when Prince started talking about break it down, shush, when he was getting ready to play that, he said, Tevin, come on the stage with me. And Tevin's standing right next to me on the other side of David Robinson. And he was like, no, I can't. I'm scared. I was like, oh, man. So Prince did break it down by himself.
Oh, man.
Then Prince said, I'll be back. And he changed clothes. It's like a break, an intermission, and everybody was like tripping because he played for an hour already. He comes back. And by the way, this thing started at like 1 in the morning.
Right.
The party itself started at like 10 something. You go there about 10 something. He started performing at 1. So he stopped at 2 something. He comes back on and he plays the rest of the night. When we left out of there, it was 7 a.m. and the sun was coming up.
Wow.
I ain't never been to a party that cold in my life.
Right.
It was unbelievable. But at this party, now this is where it gets to the Jehovah's Witness part. During his second performance, he pulls out the bass and he starts playing Graham Central Station, the jam. Doom 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 doom.
Okay.
You know that song, right?
Yes, sir. I got you.
All right. Well, I'm also huge Larry Graham fan. And Tom Jones also knew that. I always thought Larry Graham and Bootsy Collins and Stanley Clarke were the greatest bass guitarists of all time.
Okay.
Tom calls me up about a year or two later, and he says, man, I was in Bahamas, and guess who I ran into? I said, who? He said, your hero, Larry Graham. I said, what? He said, Larry Graham had moved to the Bahamas. And I was like, man, he had fallen off the face of the earth. I had met Larry one time. And by the way, Larry's shorter than you think.
Oh, really?
Not as short as Prince.
Right.
Larry looks tall, but Larry is not that tall. Larry might be 5'10". He might be 5'10".
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah. So I met Larry once and been to all of his shows. I mean, I've been to all of his shows. And Tom knew that too. So he said, yeah, Larry will move out to the Bahamas. He said he's still performing here and there, but he lives in the Bahamas. And I said, man, I'd love to have him on my show on the ticket. Because when I was doing my show on the ticket, by the way, just to show you how much I respect Prince and all that, my theme song, 17 Days, is Prince.
Yes, sir.
Everybody listen to my show,
That's exactly right. Yes, that's exactly right. Yeah, I remember that. Exactly right.
And even when I did my show on the weekend on 105.3 The Fan, that was still my theme song. So, Prince through and through. That's 17 Days and The Beautiful Ones are my 2 favorite songs from Prince.
I love Beautiful Ones.
Back to Larry Graham. Tom said, yeah, I got his phone number. Give him a call tonight. So I called Larry Graham from my house and asked him, because, I can do what I want to do on my show on the 105 The Fan. I mean, on the ticket.
Right.
I just do what I want to do. And so I said, you want to come on the show? And he said, yeah, man. He said, yes, I'd love to. And this big old deep voice he got.
Right.
On base. So
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead, CA. Get it.
So I put him on the show, and we're talking about everything. And I told him on there, I said, man, you won't believe this. I'm at one of Prince's parties up in his studio at Paisley Park with Tom, and I kid you not, Prince started playing the jam, and he played the whole thing, and he was playing it just like you. And he goes, "Wow, I'm really flattered. I had no idea he liked my work, and I'm a big admirer of his." I said, "You don't know Prince?" "No, I'm really honored. He's one of the greatest musicians of all time, and he's a great entertainer. I've never met him." I was like, "Wow, well, he is a huge fan of yours because, I mean, he played the entire 7-minute version. He broke it down." Well, I'm not lying. About months later, I look up, and Larry Graham is now opening for Prince.
Oh, wow.
On his show. On his tour. And here's where it comes full circle. So they come to Dallas, and of course, you know, I'm at the show and all that. But before that, the promoter for his concert said that Prince wanted to. Okay, back in those days, you heard of Guam Mirage?
Yes,
I used to do Thursday nights that was my night. Thursday nights at the Guam Mirage. I used to host it. They used to be open Friday through Sunday. And they wanted to add a night, and I said, "Let me host Thursday night, and we will turn it out and pack it and make Thursday nights a big deal." And it did. It worked out great, and I would get a cut off the door, and I was making crazy money.
Wow.
Well, Prince's concert actually was on Thursday night. And so the concert promoter or was it Billy Sparks? Somebody from Prince, either the promoter or one of his people, got in touch with me and said, "Prince wants to do his after party, and we couldn't think of no better place than your place."
Oh, wow.
To the Guam Mirage.
Right.
And I was like, they said, "We want to run this through you because what he does is they charge extra at the door because he takes care of the band. He gives the band a bonus for hanging out with him and performing at the after party. You know, he ain't gonna just go up there by himself.
Of course.
And, you know, his band, they're not going out there for fun. He is, but he's like, "I want to give you some bonus money for playing even longer."
Gotcha.
So they wanted to get a cut off the door. I'm the one getting the cut off the door. I said, "Well, yeah, no problem. Yeah, shoot for Prince. Come on, man, that's my boy." So Prince, his band, Larry Graham, the original Graham Central Station, they all came to Guam Mirage. Guam Mirage also had a VIP room, not just a VIP area. They set up the equipment, and we're back there chilling in the VIP room. And, you know, I talked to Prince for a while, and, you know, everybody swarming Prince, so it's back there. And I ain't going to haul Prince and, you know, tie up his night.
Right.
I get over to my little booth, and I get Graham, and I said, "Larry, how in the world did you wind up hooking up with Prince? You didn't even know him when I talked to you last year." And he said, "Man, I was performing in Nashville, and Prince was in town recording, and he came backstage to my concert, and we hit it off. And next thing you know, he invited me to Minneapolis, and I moved to Minneapolis." I said, "What? You have left the Bahamas and moved to Minneapolis?" "Yes, I've moved to Minneapolis, and we have become very close." He said, "In fact, Prince is going to become a Jehovah's Witness now." I went, "What?" Because Larry Graham is a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, all right.
Larry Graham is the one that turned Prince into a Jehovah's Witness.
And you turned Larry Graham into knowing that that Prince was a huge fan of his. Okay.
No. Like I said, I can't take credit. It was just the ironic thing that Larry had no idea that Prince was a huge fan. I mean, I didn't know Prince was going to show up in Nashville.
Okay, right. I got you.
But they'd run into each other.
Right.
All I can say is, wow, what are the odds?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no.
One of those stories. I got lots of them, a lot of them I got to keep to myself.
Well, when you write the book, we're gonna have you back on to promote the book, and I would have read it, and we can dive into the real juicy stories. Appreciate anything you give us, but yeah, no, that's so you've got the real experience. I mean, you've got like I said, a true relationship that they said spans 3 decades plus, and first name basis. He was just a regular mellow kind of. I mean, I've heard that before, that he was down to earth in the sports, just a regular brother, if you will.
Yeah, he's a regular guy. One thing you got to always remember, though, this is what a lot of people don't understand. He's also, especially, I'd say the last 15, 16 years, he's also been all about giving back. And he was felt like kids today like music, but they didn't know how to play instruments. And that drove him crazy. He wanted kids to learn how to play instruments and be the entire, utilize all their skills and not just use, auto-tune and not just use, drum machine.
Right.
He wanted them to actually learn to play musical instruments. So he was always doing things that benefited those kinds of those charitable events, things like that. And, that's another one of the things that me and him hit it off on, and had the same line of thinking on. I give you a little insight. My mother is the executive director of the Black Liberated Arts Center in Oklahoma City, which is partnered with the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Kennedy Center does all these different benefits, and they're always honoring different artists.
Right, yes.
My mother,
yes.
Her group is part of that, and some of these scholarships that the Kennedy Center gives out, some of those things happen in Oklahoma through her Black Liberated Arts Center, and they provide computers and arts education for kids in Oklahoma. In fact, Ludacris has done some things with my mother's foundation. And so, again, I totally related to Prince on what he was trying to accomplish on that level as well. And that's something that he didn't want people to know about, because as a Jehovah's Witness, you're not supposed to talk about the things that you do that are giving.
Okay.
Follow what I'm saying?
No, of course.
Like then you're not really giving from your heart.
Yeah,
Jehovah's Witnesses are not supposed to really discuss how they give back.
That makes sense.
No. So I was saying, in a nutshell, there's some levels to Prince that a lot of people don't know, but he's a very, very smart person. That's why I'm wondering. Now I don't know, and we'll find out in the next few days. They said he didn't have a will, and I don't know if that's true or not. His will might be in that vault, all those songs,
Right.
because he was on top of everything. This man, I'm telling you, I can't explain it other than to say he was a very astute businessman. He won his battle with the record company. It took him a couple of decades to get his masters. Remember, he had Slave on the side of his.
Yeah, that was the Warner Brothers thing, right? Where he sued Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, and he was trying to get his masters back. A lot of people don't know this. Did you know he re-recorded every single song he wrote for all those albums he did them for Warner Brothers? He re-recorded it in his own studio, and he had those tapes in case he was looking at every angle possible to maintain control of his music. And one of his biggest problems with Warner Brothers, and by the way, he had struck a deal with them, if not last year, the year before last, where, he got his masters back and all that, where they were going to distribute some of his music. And then I think the last deal he had, I think that was just for like a year, or as long as he wanted to do it, he could drop off whenever he wanted to. But he was doing the deal with Tidal. He was releasing his music through Jay-Z's streaming service Tidal.
Right.
And that was the last thing. But he was very astute with his music and very controlling and very protective. And it's such a smart businessman. Did you know his videos weren't allowed online? YouTube could not run videos of him.
I did know that because you couldn't find anything. No, none of his songs. So yeah, I was aware of that, which is, to have that level of control even into the 2010 pluses is pretty amazing. So yeah, I knew that about him.
It is, and right now you're seeing all this flood of print videos and performance. That's going to stop soon as if they stay true to his beliefs. Whether it's his sister, Tyka, or whether it's somebody that, knows his business acumen and his beliefs, that stuff's going to get pulled down.
Yeah,
that's not what he wanted.
That's...
Even though even though it's like a tribute, so to speak, right now,
right.
Watch, by the fall, I bet that stuff's pulled down.
Yeah, to your point about his control and being, an astute businessman. So you're saying that, you don't think he would have taken, or, obviously we can only speculate, but he wouldn't have taken not leaving a will for granted, or not, what am I trying to say?
Right.
Taking his,
Yeah. That's too big, that's too significant. That's control of his empire.
Right. Okay.
Why would he not determine who gets control of his empire. And you also got to understand this. He had just made a deal with a book publishing company to write his memoirs. He had a writer who was a music critic that was going to do the writing part, and he was going to dictate his memoirs, and he'd already done 50 pages.
Oh, wow.
He'd done this in March. He made that deal in March. I want to say it was with Simon & Schuster.
Okay.
And he was going to write his memoirs, and the name of his memoirs, he already decided it was going to be called The Beautiful Ones.
Oh, man.
I don't know what's going to happen now, but, I mean, this man was totally in control of his stuff, and nothing happened without his approval. Nobody ever took advantage of him, ever.
Okay.
So I find it amazing that he would not have a will. I would say this: there's not a will that they can find yet, but I bet when they go all the way through Paisley Park, it's somewhere.
I mean, and based on the way you describe him, and then when I just think about it practically, the amount of control, the amount of knowledge and skillfulness, yeah, it doesn't make sense that you would leave the biggest, especially, I mean, 57 is not old, but obviously, you start making different decisions, and he has advisors and whatnot. So you would think he would have controlled that.
The theory for people who say he doesn't have a will, they know, those who know, they say, well, he didn't trust a lot of people, so he was always changing out managers or lawyers, and he also did not like to sign a lot of contracts. He would do it himself, or he'd figure out a way that he didn't have to have his signature on stuff if he could. But that doesn't mean that he would not have a will.
Right.
Because not having a will is contrary to control.
Of course. Right. Yeah. I mean, you give up everything. If you don't want the record label to have a say so in what you do and how you distribute, why would you let the state of Minnesota, dictate how your assets are split up?
Exactly. I bet he's got a will. They just don't know where it is yet because he wasn't going to leave it in somebody else's control.
Right.
I bet it may be in their fault, and you may find that out later. I don't know. If I'm wrong, then I'm completely wrong, and I'm going, who would have thought that? But based the guy that I know, he has always handled himself over the last 35, 36 years, he's too smart. This man's a genius. Not just a musical genius, a business genius. I remember when they built Paisley Park, everybody said it was too big and it would go under and he was going to go broke. And he didn't. He did not go broke, and it didn't go under, and it was, because they were like, why would he build this major recording studio with a gigantic sound stage in Minneapolis when it's probably better served in New York or LA? They thought it was just insane at the time that he built it. And that thing is worth like $10 million, and I think Tiger said Tiger's husband said they're going to try to turn it into like a Graceland, which I think would be smart. I think.
Me too.
You'd have control over. You can share it, but you have control.
Right.
Hey, I hate to let you go.
Yeah, I know we ran over time. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, man.
I'm about to line up.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate it very much. I will be in contact with you. I'll send this out to you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it very much.
All right, you take care. And again, Fight Club, I hope I haven't said too much. All I'm thinking about is I think I've told you enough to give you a good clue. Does that work?
Yeah, no, hey, you've got more than enough, man. I think you've got our appetites wet, and we can't wait for the book and anything else you have on it. So we really appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll follow up with you and see if we can get you back on to talk sports and other things.
All right, MC, you take care, buddy.
All right, thanks, CA. See you later, man. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, right. I mean, what a time. What a guest. What stories he had about Prince, what insight he had into Prince Rogers Nelson, and maybe added a little bit more to the dynamic and the story of the man that the myth, like he said, just a mysterious kind of guy. But, really appreciate Chris's time. He was at his son's track meet, actually, and initially he told me he only had 10 to 15 minutes. And I think we stretched it out to about 35. So I really appreciate him letting me take up his time. Hope you guys liked the interview. Hey, let us know. Use the hashtag The Vocal Minority. Tweet about us. Talk about it on Facebook. You can reach Chris Arnold at Mr. Chris Arnold on Twitter. You can hear him every day on the G-Bag Nation on 105.3 The Fan, every weekdays 10 to 3. Check us out. Make sure you subscribe, like, rate, review, tell your friends. Thanks for downloading, and we'll holler at you next week. All right, welcome back. I know you just heard me talk and just wrap up the show, but I wanted to come back one more time because obviously a couple things in that interview, the sound, I was just getting started. So things are improving. That's another reason for you to go donate to the show, thevocalminorityReport.com/donate. Leave us a few shekels, one-time gift or recurring gift donation. It'll really help the show out. Still upgrading the equipment, but also wanted to commend myself for even a year plus ago asking folks to go to iTunes or Apple Podcasts now, leave a rating, leave a review. It's really important. I think we only have 24 reviews on Apple Podcasts, which is crazy considering the amount of downloads and listens we have. I realize not everybody listens on iTunes, Apple Podcasts. Shout out to my SoundCloud folks and everyone who listens through everywhere, because we're available everywhere you get your podcast. But if you have the ability through your iPhone, go to that Apple Podcasts app, the little purple app, I guess is what it is. Or, download it, get on iTunes, search for the Vocal Minority Report, leave us a rating review. You can really help us out. Pretty cool to interrupt myself and ask you all for the same thing, but I appreciate it. Also, it appears that Chris and I were wrong about whether or not Prince had a will. Still very surprised by that. It was left to the state of Minnesota. I'm sure you guys have kept up with what's happening there. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back with episode 52, a fresh, brand new interview for that ass in the next week. And some semblance of news. Could have downloaded any podcast in the world. You're still rocking with your boy. I appreciate that. Have and always will. All right. We'll holler at you next episode. All power to the people. Peace.
This has been a Vocal Neighbors production.